Hello kiddos, welcome back to Math in Minutes. In today's video, we are going to learn area and perimeter of rectangle. By the end of this video, you will be able to understand the definitions of area and perimeter. You will be able to measure the area of rectangle on a grid. You will also be able to solve real world and mathematical problems involving area and perimeter of rectangle. As shown on the screen, a rectangle is a four-sided polygon which has four vertices. Here A, B, C and D are the four vertices. It has four sides. AB, BC, CD and DA are the four sides and it has four right angles. Also in the rectangle, opposite sides are equal. And the sides of the rectangle are called as length and width. Width is also called as breadth. ABCD is a rectangle where AB equal to 4 units, BC equal to 7 units. You have to find the length of missing sides. In the previous slide, we spoke about properties of rectangle. One of the important property of rectangle is opposite sides are equal. If opposite sides are equal, AB will be equal to DC equal to 4 units and BC is equal to AD equal to 7 units. This is how we find the missing sides by looking at opposite parallel sides. Now let's look at the way to find out the area of rectangle on a grid. Before we start discussing about the grid, can you count with me the number of yellow colored square units? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the area of yellow colored square units is 5 square units. This is how we find the area of rectangle on a grid. Come on kids, let's discuss in detail on how to find out the area of rectangle on a grid. A grid has vertical and horizontal lines that form small squares. Each square measures 1 square unit. In order to calculate the area of rectangle, we have to count the number of grid square units in the length of the rectangle and count the number of grid square units in the width of the rectangle. There are 5 squares lengthwise and 7 squares widthwise. 5 times 7 is 35. This means the area of rectangle on the grid is 35 square units. This method to find out area of rectangle on a grid is useful to understand the concept of area, but in real world scenario to find out the area of big rectangular objects becomes tough to follow this approach of counting squares. That's why we use the formula of area of rectangle. What is area? The amount of space inside a shape is called area and the distance around boundary of a shape is called perimeter. Generally, most of the kids, when we initially introduce the concept of area and perimeter, they have lot of confusion. That's the reason I have put together in a single slide. So area means whatever the amount of space occupied by that shape is called area, whereas perimeter means just the boundary of the shape. Now let's explore the formula of area and perimeter of a rectangle. We already learned to find out the area of rectangle on a grid. How did we find the area of rectangle on a grid? We found the area of rectangle on a grid by counting the squares lengthwise and widthwise. So the formula of area of rectangle will be length into width or length into breadth. Area is always expressed in square units. Why do we express area in square units? Why not just the units? Because area is calculated always by multiplying two measurements, which is length and breadth. That's why area of rectangle is always expressed in square units. What is perimeter? Perimeter of a rectangle is the distance around the boundary of rectangle. For rectangle, we have two lengths and two widths. So perimeter is twice the sum of length and width of a rectangle, and perimeter is always expressed in units. Look at this rectangular shaped basketball court whose length is 15 meters and width is 10 meters. Let's find out area and perimeter of this basketball court. Area is equal to length into width. Here length is given as 15 meters and width is given as 10 meters. So area will be equal to 15 meters multiplied by 10 meters. 15 times 10 is 150 and meter into meter will be square meters. So area of this basketball court will be equal to 150 square meters. Now let's find out the perimeter. Perimeter is equal to twice the sum of length and width. Twice means 2 into 15 plus 10. 15 plus 10 is 25. 2 times 25 is 50. So perimeter of this basketball court is 50 meters. What is the use of learning about area and perimeter of rectangle? Why do we have to know how to find out the area and perimeter? For example, let's say we bought a house and after purchasing we have to do the flooring, right? So how many tiles we will purchase? For that, you should know the area of house. How much is the area? Based on the area, you'll find out how many tiles you need and you'll purchase it and you'll complete your flooring. Not only house, for example, you have one park and you have to fence. I mean, you have to put a boundary around the park. Then you have to know its perimeter, and after knowing the perimeter, accordingly we will purchase the materials which are needed for the boundary, and then we will construct a boundary. So these are the couple of real life applications where we use area and perimeter of the rectangle. Like this, there are so many applications in our day-to-day life where we will use area and perimeter. To better understand this concept, let's look at one more example. Here on the screen, you can see one rectangular bar whose length is 5 centimeters and width is 3 centimeters. Let's derive the area and perimeter of this rectangle. Area is equal to length into width. Length is 5 centimeters, width is 3 centimeters. 5 centimeter into 3 centimeters. 5 times 3 is 15 square units. To find out perimeter of this rectangle, I simply added all the measurements around this shape. 5 plus 5 plus 3 plus 3 equal to 16 centimeters. I mean, just to make you understand, perimeter means the distance around the boundary of a shape. You can also use the formula to get perimeter of the rectangle. Area of a rectangle is equal to length into breadth. Length is given as 18.5 centimeters and breadth is given as 10.8 centimeters. 18.5 into 10.8, when you multiply, you'll get 199.8. Centimeters into centimeters will be square centimeters. So area of this rectangle is 199.8 square centimeters. Perimeter of the rectangular park is equal to twice the sum of length and breadth. 2 into length is given as 84 meters and breadth is given as 126 meters. 2 into 84 plus 126 is equal to 210. So 2 into 210. 2 times 210 is 420 meters. So the perimeter of the rectangular park is 420 meters. Perimeter of the rectangular field is equal to twice sum of length and breadth. Here, length of the rectangular field is given as 525 meters and breadth is given as 420 meters. When you add 425 and 420, you will get 945. 2 times 945 is 1890 meters. So this is the perimeter of the field. Now we have to find out the cost for fencing. So what is the distance around the rectangular field? It is 1890. You have to multiply this distance with the cost of fencing per meter. What is the cost of fencing per meter? 8 rupees 50 paisa, 8.50. When you multiply 1890 with 8.50, you will get 16,065. So what is the cost for fencing? It's rupees 16,065. So this is how we will find the cost of fencing. Let's check our understanding by solving the problems which are shown on the screen. Please verify your answers by looking at the screen. Let's put your knowledge to the test. Quiz time. Question number 1. Find the area of a rectangle PQRS if its length is 7 meters and breadth is 5 meters. Let's look at the answer. Area of the rectangle formula is L into B. L equal to 7 meters into 5 meters. 7 5 is 35 and meter into meter is square meter. 35 meter square is the answer. Question number 2. It's a true or false question. The perimeter is always measured in single unit. That is, we express perimeter in centimeter, meter or kilometer. The answer is true. Perimeter is always expressed in single unit, whereas area is always expressed in square units. Let's quickly recall what we have learned so far. We have learned area of rectangle, which is length into breadth. We also learned perimeter of a rectangle, which is twice the sum of length and width. Thanks for watching, kids. I'll see you again in my next video. Till then, keep practicing what we have learned so far.